Jesse Friedman. He is the VP of Innovation and Partner Success at Automatic. He's been a professor and has taught a lot of courses on marketing and has worked as a consultant with small businesses up to billion-dollar businesses. And today he's going to be talking to us about owning your influence. So thank you so much for joining us. Jesse, the time is yours.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for having me. It is a real pleasure to be here and really exciting to see everyone coming together to show off their work and what everybody's been up to. Just to give you a little background about myself, my name is Jesse Friedman. I am the VP of Innovation and Partnership Success at Automatic. I got started with WordPress back in 2005 or maybe before then. I learned everything from a professor of mine at the time who recommended that I use WordPress, and I did not know at that time that it would quickly consume my personal and professional life. It has taken me pretty far, and I attribute a lot of that to the community. I have gained a great deal of knowledge and experience from people around me. I've been able to lean on experts in the field. And a lot of that just came from showing up at WordCamps and local events and things like this, and just meeting and greeting and shaking hands. And before I knew it, I had contributed to core, contributed to plugins, ran WordCamps, ran local communities, spoke at conferences around the world. So I've been around the block a few times, and I only like to mention that just to help people understand that all of us were starting off at some point, and even though I still have a ton to learn and a lot to grow, I still attribute a lot of my success, or most of it, to the community and to working together in areas like this. So today we're going to take some time to talk about owning your influence. And I'll get into what that means exactly in a few moments, but I did want to just mention that usually when I give talks, they're a little bit longer, and I was struggling to cut this one down a bit. And so in order to make it work in this condensed format, I actually stripped it down a little bit more than usual. And the reason I did that is because I feel like if I can cover these topics at a high level, help to introduce them, it'll spark something in your brain and help you to kind of further your mission, but at the same time, we'll leave a lot of time for questions at the end. So feel free to take out your notes and your pen and paper and start writing down questions, because I'm going to be here throughout this talk, and I'll be readily available to answer your questions at the end. And if it needs to continue beyond that, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at Professor, or my personal blog, jesse.blog. I love to have these conversations and continue growing, because here's the thing is, like, I might spark a little bit of an idea in you, and then you might cultivate that and put your own flair on it, and then share it back with me, and then those ideas grow, and they share with other people, and then everybody's better off for it. So I look forward to continuing this conversation with all of you. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about the internet and how it's authored by influencers and creators and publishers and all that. Talk a little bit about the open web and the advantages there, strategies to own your influence, and then cultivating and improving your open audience. So when I give theoretical conversations like this, where it's a bunch of ideas or trying to help you understand a situation that we might be in, I like to do it through the storyline of a fictional character. In this case, we're going to be working with Drake. Drake is, on his way to becoming an influencer. He has a unique career, so he's uniquely positioned to find his niche and to influence individuals in that area, because he's a vampire fitness trainer. None of this really matters to the point, but it's fun to have a little bit of backstory here. He's an expert, charismatic, incredibly strong, can shapeshift, has hypnotic abilities, and can control nocturnal animals. That's really great. Sounds like interesting stuff. I would love to read more, watch his videos, listen to his podcasts, and so on. He does have a few weaknesses, though. He has no reflections, so his selfie game is weak. And he consumes blood, which, of course, is weird. So, With all that, he definitely has the tools in the toolbox that he needs to become an influencer. What are his goals? Well, he wants to share his knowledge and experience to position himself as an internet influencer and subject matter expert in order to grow his audience to increase fitness training bookings. So he has a pretty clear goal. He wants to use the internet to reach out to people, to share his expertise, to gain trust, so those individuals will eventually book with him and he will make money. His secondary goal is to build up an audience large enough to generate passive income through ads, sponsorships, and memberships. Now, while Drake is a fictional vampire fitness trainer, we can see a lot of what we're trying to accomplish on the internet in these goals. So sub in your personal needs, and this should all relate to you. Also, we know he wants blood. Okay. So what's Drake's first plan here? So we see this a lot. People are exposed to social media. They're already on social media. They're watching all these other influencers. It's kind of the problem with social media is that it paints this very elaborate and beautiful picture of a world that maybe we don't really live in. But because he's on Facebook and Twitter and Twitch, all these other places, he feels that he can do it just like everybody else. Plus, these social media platforms make a promise to you. They try to infuse in you that you can grow your brand and build your audience, and everything will be great. But there's a few problems with that. For one, we all know what this is like. You have a new idea, you buy a domain, and then you go to Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook, and you reserve your usernames to build these profiles of these pages in order to tap into the already built-in audience that exists on all of these social platforms. And it's really intriguing, this idea that there are billions of users out there who are on these platforms and just waiting for great content. But what it really becomes is a marketing game, just like everything else. Your goal is to get people to like and subscribe. So now you're managing multiple marketing campaigns across multiple platforms in an effort to tap into an audience you don't control, to get likes and subscriptions, in an effort to what? To highway or traffic these individuals back to your personal brand. But there's a problem with that. If you've ever tried to get to a URL from these closed source solutions, sometimes it's difficult. So you might be watching a reel on Instagram, and then you have to get to the user's profile, then you have to get to their bio, then you have to get to their URL, and God forbid they have more than one URL. Sometimes only one is clickable. Then you have to copy and paste it, take it to the browser. The list goes on. It is not a green light here to get people from Instagram to your personal brand, whether that's a blog or a website or whatever it might be. But they do expect you to funnel traffic that way. So there's a lot going on here. But we're gonna and one thing I want to touch on too is that this creates a positive loop within that social platform. This is exactly what Instagram wants, is that they want you living inside this platform. They want you creating content, viewing other people's content, engaging with your audience there, and everything else. Now, that sounds wonderful on the outside of it, but if you're anyone who's ever tried to manage multiple campaigns, you need additional software to do it. You need to be engaging. You need to be on social media and respond quickly. And a lot of this is not necessarily to make your audience happy, but it's to make algorithms happy. So as a result, Drake is tired and a bit confused. And even though he's had some pretty good content go viral, this is him working out in front of the mirror. That's funny vampire joke. These things have gone viral, and he's grown a lot on those platforms, but it's not really paying off. And as I said, he's tired and confused. And so what's going on here? Well, unlike the open web, where you maintain control of your audience, you own the content, you own the platform, everything that is growing organically through your open solution is owned by you. Social media is actually not in any way owned by your platform, your bio, your content. You may physically own that content or have the rights to that content, but you also share it with social media, and they have very different desires than you do. While you're trying to cultivate an audience to grow your brand, what they really care about is just keeping people on the platform. So if your views dip, if you're presenting something controversial, if you're moving away from your core subject for any reason, and you see any kind of a dip in your audience, your growth, anything like that, you can be penalized by social media giants. And the thing is that even if you're doing great and really thriving, the real situation that you struggle with here is that the social media empire owns your audience. You have no direct line of sight if that social media platform were to disappear tomorrow. And years past, we thought that would be impossible, but with everything that's going on with Twitter and the shifts that are happening at Facebook and other areas, it's not that far out of the realm of possibilities. So how do you make your users portable? How do you bring them to different platforms, to your own brand? These are problems that we face, and not something we necessarily face with the open web. Social medias or platforms are focused on driving traffic. The more views they get, the more they can charge for ads. And we have a very simple algorithm here. Social media, they want revenue. The more users they have, with more page views and more time on the platform, the more they get to charge for ads, and the more money they seek. And of course, just like Drake, social media is kind of out for you. So now we've got these social media platforms going, and we're really trying to kind of boost that. But we're working tireless nights, but it's starting to grow, and we think to ourselves, like, now's the opportunity. Drake thinks to himself, now's the opportunity. I have an audience. I have people in different areas. I wanna start creating a sports drink. Yeah, see. So he goes back to this map here, and he thinks to himself, like, how can I get involved in building a store? And there are now different social media platforms with their own e-commerce platform built into it, which seems great because that's where your audience is, and it keeps them engaged. But in reality, what's happening is that the social media platforms are doing it in order to take a cut of what's called share of wallet. So if you're building a brand, your fitness brand on Instagram, and then telling people to go buy your t-shirts on your website, Instagram feels like, hey, wait a minute, that money should have transferred through our credit card transaction fees. We should have taken a cut of that, and all of that should have happened on our site. There was no reason to take them off. Now, in hindsight, or at a high level, that might seem convenient, but again, now what you're doing is you're making a decision for convenience to build an entire business on a platform that you do not control, and with an audience that you do not have a direct line of contact with. So instead, Drake makes a smarter choice and decides to build an open source solution, a website. And so his first path is to go to Bluehost and buy a WordPress instance. So now he's got hosting, he's got a WordPress instance. On top of that, it comes with Jetpack. That's a shameless little plug. We don't need to talk about Jetpack too much, but I definitely think it's worth investigating if you haven't given Jetpack a try. And then, of course, he attaches WooCommerce onto that as well. Another little shameless plug, but WooCommerce is WooCommerce. We all know about it, and we all know how well it works for e-commerce. So he's built this whole website, and now he's trying to bring everybody over to it to make these purchases. And that's great, except for the fact that Instagram, as I said before, they have their own e-commerce platforms now. Instagram shopping is now really, pushing to keep people on the platform. Notice how it said that nearly half of people say that they use Instagram to shop weekly. I just rolled over that little subtext there, and I noticed that what they did was they surveyed 4,500 active users. So of course, 45 out of 4,500 active Instagram users, a large portion of them are going to shop on Instagram. Does that mean that nearly half of the population of the internet shops on Instagram? I don't think so. But that's not really the point, again, because it's a dangerous thing to build an entire business on a platform that you do not control. It would be like putting everything into a retail store where you get a weekly lease agreement, and everyone will know that location. And if you ever have to change locations, you'll never be able to communicate with those users to post something to say, hey, we moved to this new location. That sounds really, really fragile and dangerous. I don't think any smart business owner would say yes to that. So that's kind of akin to what you're dealing with social media platforms. And we see this orange line turn to red because the stronger the position the social media takes in this realm, the harder it is for you to funnel traffic back to your own personal brand. And so, speaking about social media controls, unlike what Drake hopes to control, social media actually controls content delivery. Algorithms decide what followers see. I made the mistake. I have I don't know, close to 4,000 followers on Twitter. I made the mistake of getting off of social media for a couple of years, and while I still have 4,000 followers on Twitter, they don't see anything I tweet now. And in order to combat that, I would have to overpower the algorithm's threshold with enough content, relevant content, to start driving up interest. So what that basically means is that I can write for days and still my followers won't even see what I'm writing. So what is a follower? Do you really have a direct line of content connection to these audience members? No, you don't. Also, and as I touched on this before, social media maintains audience communication. If you have a follower on Instagram, how could you and if Instagram went down tomorrow, just like, because they've had downtime, let's say they were down, how would you communicate with your audience? Like, just sever that connection for a quick second in your mind. How do you communicate with your audience? If you're a YouTube channel runner and you have hundreds or even thousands of videos and millions of hours of people watching your videos, if YouTube were to go down tomorrow, how would you rebuild everything? How would you keep everything that you have, the millions of followers, the millions of hours being watched? How would you transport that to something else? The truth of the matter is that you have to use that platform in order to communicate, and oftentimes it's communicating through a bullhorn to a group of individuals who are listening to a lot of other people on that same platform. So it's not direct communication, and you do not own it. We talked about portability. This is incredibly important. Think about those Twitter users, everybody leaving Twitter right now, going to Tumblr or other places to try and find a new haven for their social media platforms. How do you transpose those users? How do you bring them over? Well, you don't. So in an open web world where you have a WordPress website at the core of everything that you're doing, you're building subscribers, you're building growth, you're getting those visitors in, and you own those direct lines of communication. They can still choose to ignore those emails or SMS messages or whatever else in other ways that you want to communicate with those people, but you have a direct line of sight to them, whereas through these social media platforms, you really don't. And again, this is stuff that people face every single day. People make the decision to build a brand and build a business on top of a social media platform, but at any given time, those individuals face things like shadow bans. A shadow ban is when the algorithm decides that while you're still making content and you're still present on the platform, that no one's really going to see it. And that can happen from a variety of reasons. Happens all the time. Malicious reporting. This is someone who's a competitor or someone who just doesn't like what you're thinking about or writing about, can report you. This has happened to me before, where they report you for breaking the rules, terms of service, or something like that, and your content gets blocked or shut down. The algorithms can make decisions to block you. There's a really great video out there I'll share the link to later about an individual who creates content for YouTube, makes a ton of money off of ads, and because he's touched on some progressive topics, he's been blocked by YouTube, and it's crippled his business, which leads to demonetization. Yeah. So how do you channel your influence? Your primary goal should be to establish a direct line of communication between you and your audience. That means you need to get their email, get their SMS number, get them to sign up for a membership. The list can go on from there. But what you need to do is really focus on creating that direct line of communication. I'm sorry, I skipped the slide too fast. I'm a little nervous to go backwards because I don't know what's going to happen now. So we'll just leave it at that. But focus on creating that direct line of communication with your audience. Once you own that email list, once you own a list of SMS emails that you can send notifications to, once you have members of your site, you can still funnel content directly to social media, but your website, your open web website where you own that audience, becomes the source of truth. And then anytime that somebody is looking for something of yours or whatever, they can find it by going back to your website. So make your website the source of truth. Make your content findable and shareable. This is one of my favorite things to do that nobody does, and everybody scrambles at the end of the day to figure out what to do if their social media platform breaks or if something bad happens. Literally take all of the content that you're writing for social media and put it on your blog. Replicating that content is not going to be detrimental in any way. It will increase the value of that content if people are finding it on your website. And what it does is actually, while finding, have you ever tried to find a specific image from a specific influencer on Instagram, or find a specific video of a specific topic that you saw on TikTok from like 3 weeks ago? It's nearly impossible. But if I know that the people that I care about are publishing their content to their website, where you can use things like Jetpack search or other things to make really elastic type search results that are really powerful, then you've made your content infinitely more evergreen, and it's not that ephemeral content that's just going to disappear right away. Reward communication and outreach. I see this trend on TikTok all the time now, where people take a comment and then they replicate that comment into a new video, and it's the catalyst for that next video, and people are so excited to see their comment being the reason for that. Do that on take all your social media commentary, take the people and write a blog post about it. Bring that content back to your website and show those individuals that you cared enough to actually to push content to that platform, with their comment being the catalyst. In this screenshot here, we're looking at Jetpack Social. It's a new plugin. Take a look at it. It makes it easy to take all of your content from your website and immediately publish it to Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, Tumblr, and more automatically. So you don't have to actually copy and paste things, which makes making your website the source of truth even easier. Pull in content from social media, embed those tweets, embed those YouTube videos in your website, and that way you're mirroring it and making it easier for people to follow you. And I have to move a little bit quicker here just to kind of get through everything. Strategies, transparency. Don't be afraid to tell people that that you want to grow an audience on your own personal website and you don't want to rely on social media. It's okay to dog social media. People understand it. Use short URLs. If you're putting your URL in a video or in a YouTube video or Instagram or a reel or whatever it might be, get used to using short URLs, because long URLs are impossible. And buy multiple short URLs for specific landing pages. Create discounts for people who follow your website. Create exclusive content or give early release to content for people who are members of your website. This way, you're giving a leg up to the people who take the time to subscribe to your website versus being on social media. Create some kind of unique swag. It's very easy. Like, go to a website like Printify. You can print on demand, reward people, send them a t-shirt or a hat or something, help them to be more connected to your swag. Create a point system. If you follow me on social media and you follow me here and you follow me here and you follow my website, you get points, and those points can be, I don't know what the word I'm looking for. They can be used to reward them with something. And WooCommerce has points extensions. I already talked about landing pages. Create specific landing pages like, hey, you came to me from YouTube. This is what you can expect from this site. Here's categories on my site. Become a member and help me to keep my content going. All right, so building. So we talked about the tools and some strategies. Building. Use WordPress. choose a host like Bluehost that really cares about the WordPress community. Jetpack and WooCommerce, they can help you build things like memberships, subscriptions, forums, comments, and build a community. I can't stress this stuff enough. Bring that stuff to your website and help people um, form a community around what you're building on your website. We talked about mirroring your content so it's a source of truth, and create positive feedback loops. Embed social media posts in your site, publicize your content back to social platforms, and so on. Here's an example of embedding. I wrote a blog post about using duotones to create subscription blocks with Gutenberg. I'll show you what that looks like in a second. But in the middle of writing that post, I wrote a tweet. And then what I did was I grabbed that tweet's link and I dropped it in, made it a Gutenberg block. It's just as simple as copying and pasting. But now check this out. How easy is it for someone who's reading my blog post to follow me on Twitter, to like or reply or copy the link, do something with it? This makes it instantly more tangible to interact with social media, but also keeping your site the source of truth. This is the block that I created. It's just like a duotone block that just matches the colors of my site, makes it really pop, but it's also still subtle. And what is the goal? For me, it's to get subscribers. That's what I want. I want emails. That way I can control and communicate with my audience as much as I can possibly, handle it. And that's it. Sorry, I ran over time a little bit. So hopefully there's still time for questions. It was a real pleasure meeting all of you. And if anybody's interested in seeing a more robust version of this presentation, let me know, and I'll stretch it out and post it to my website. All right, thanks everybody.
My favorite comment that I saw in the chat was someone said that they're pretty sure they'd met Drake before. So that made me laugh as we were going through the presentation. Really enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun. Okay, so we don't have a ton of time, but it was a lot of great content, and I want to get some of these questions over to you for you to answer them. We'll go through a couple of them. Edna asks, how important / how much would you recommend email newsletters?
I would definitely recommend email newsletters. It's a great way to create a consistent level of communication between you and your audience, and it creates a fallback. So the thing that you need to help your audience understand is that the social media platforms that they love and use every day inhibits the growth of the creator, the influencer, at some point. So if you can create a transparent level of communication with your audience and let them know that if, God forbid, your account was ever suspended or the platform disappeared tomorrow or whatever it might be, that they know where to find your content, because that's what they care about.
That's an excellent answer. And following up with that, someone asked, I'm working on building a new brand and I'm having a hard time getting traffic on the website I built on the open web. Do you have any suggestions on how to bring my social audience to my website?
Yeah, definitely. So I would say that growing your audience in a social platform is definitely a natural thing. And so you should definitely aim to grow your audience in those areas, because as I mentioned, the social media platforms come with a built-in audience. So it's a really great way to do that. Just try to use the things that we talked about today to build confidence in those audience members in going outside of the platform to your website. And so there were definitely some suggestions in there about creating reward systems or ways in which they can communicate with you directly, swag, things like that. To be honest with you, like the way I would do it, if I was an influencer that had a good audience on social media, I would probably resist the temptation to talk to them directly through social media. That's what they want. That they want to communicate with you directly, and that is the golden prize at the end of it. Is if I can talk to that influencer, oh my gosh, that's so great. But maybe try to have them do it through your website directly and use that as a direct line of communication, and it'll reward them for going to your website.
Yeah, I know social media has that audience that you mentioned and it's built in. So I think, doing giveaways or contests like, hey, go join my newsletter on my website for the contest or the giveaway, and then have that drive that traffic that way. I think you can find creative ways to get people to your website.
Yeah, yeah. There's a balance there of encouraging them to talk to you through your website, and discouraging them to do it through social media. So don't be afraid to play the game the same way the social media has no problem doing it. Like, they have absolutely no problem using your content to grow their audience and their ad revenue, and then parting ways with you when it's not convenient for them. Do the same thing the other way around. That use the audience that they have built in, and then push them to your website, and encourage those individuals to live and gather your content on the social media platforms, and move them off of it. I mean, on your website.
Right. Okay, one or two more questions and then we'll wrap up. And again, I appreciate your time and sharing your insights with us today. Angie asked, what was the name of the thing to get social media posts on our site? I know you covered a lot. I'm not sure if you remember that specific thing, if you can share that
Yeah,
again.
so take a look at Jetpack's Publicize.
Hmm.
So what it allows you to do, this is built into Jetpack, the regular plugin, or if you just want that and nothing else, download Jetpack Social. What it does is it creates a direct line of communication between your blog and the social media platform, so that every single time that you post something new, it automatically goes there, and you get to even preview, so that you get to see the image and the way it looks, and you'll know exactly what that tweet or that Facebook post will look like before you publish it. The other thing that's a hidden gem that a lot of people don't know about is that you can actually schedule these too. So if you're going to use Jetpack, you can actually say, I want this published immediately, but then I also want it to go out 10 more times over the next month. So
Hmm.
there's ways to schedule it as well.
Yeah, that's a great tip. One or two more questions here. Someone asked, do you have any suggestions for building a following for a non-subscription website? For example, I sell physical products. Seems like building an email list might not make sense in my case.
Yeah, it's a good one. I mean, if you're selling a product, it opens up a window of opportunity for you, because you can give away items. Usually, with tangible items that you're selling, you can tie some kind of swag item into it, so stickers or T-shirts or whatever. Um, don't be afraid to give away things. Reverse the whole entire influencer element. So if you end up getting someone who has a lot of social media following and they're interested in your product, maybe instead of charging them for it, you give it to them for free in exchange for them reviewing it. So there's a lot more that goes into that, but I could definitely continue that conversation later as well.
For sure. Awesome. Okay, and probably the last question, if I do photography for fun, do you think it's important to invest in building a website if I'm not sure if I'm going to monetize my art?
Absolutely. So here's the thing, it's a long-term investment, because over time it will pay off. So you're going to regret not having set up that foundation 5 years from now, 3 years, a year from now. If you don't have it built in now, and it's cheap. I mean, like, Jetpack is free. Bluehost, I think, charges a few bucks a month. Like, you can get hosting for very little money and establish yourself on the open web now, and build a brand for yourself now. And then you can invest some serious time into it later. So there's even ways to publish to your website from email or from SMS or from Google Photos even. Like, you can tie all these things in an automated fashion, so that it's really no work for you. But I promise you that you will regret it years from now if you want that established audience and you don't have it.
I completely agree. I think it's great just to have that space on the internet that's yours where you can do what you want with it. Well, I think that concludes the time that we have today. Jesse, thank you again so much for joining us. In closing, if you want to remind people where they can find you online if they want to continue the conversation, that would be great.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Professor. No weird characters or anything. I got started early. And then hi at jesse.blog. Hi at jesse.blog is my personal email if you want to reach out and say hi.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jesse. That was amazing.